there is far too much pressure and marketing about being a certain shape and about putting goals in there that are shape related. So, in the case of women, that's usually about being smaller. In the case of men, it's about being more muscular. Those are stereotypes, but they hold true through a lot of different marketing. So I thought this would be an interesting place to start our discussion. Welcome. Stick around if you want to learn about the art and philosophy of beautiful movement mixed with evidence-based exercise science. We will be having tough and inspiring conversations with other coaches, experts, artists, and athletes. Our goal is to challenge myths, explore concepts, and engage in healthy debate as we dive deep with intrigue and curiosity. I'm your host, Hannah Deutscher. I've been teaching dance, Pilates, and yoga for over 2 decades. And what I've learned is that movement can be the joy that integrates us all together. When we can trust and express ourselves through our bodies, we are unlimited in our ability to change ourselves and our communities for the better. We, as movement teachers and coaches, have the power to help people experience this for themselves. Okay, everyone, let's dive in. Exchanging ideas and changing people's lives one session at a time. This is the Pilates Exchange. Hello, everyone. We have opened up a can of worms on Instagram a few different times, and I think we're just going to keep on going down this route of, talking about body stuff, body imaging, and its role in the fitness world and in coaching. I'd like to narrow down the scope of what we're talking about today because it's a huge conversation, and you're going to hear a lot about it from us in upcoming podcasts as we actually talk with different experts in the field and see if we could sort through some of this stuff. But today we're going to be focusing on the coaching aspect and talking about bodies and with people of just being in a body, okay, different body shapes. So I'd like to make the point that in the fitness industry, there is far too much pressure and marketing about being a certain shape and about putting goals in there that are shape related. So, in the case of women, that's usually about being smaller. In the case of men, it's about being more muscular. Those are stereotypes, but they hold true through a lot of different marketing. So I thought this would be an interesting place to start our discussion. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think the whole topic is body image. And the first thing what comes to my head is when you started already the studio here in 2015, I was still dancing professionally here in the theater, and then I was already helping you out here. I guess it was just assisting a couple of classes, learning stuff. And it was really body image wise, because in the theater you had these ladies and this man like super skinny and thin and maybe now,
eating disorder.
Yeah, into being unhealthy. And then I remember once I came over here and I saw a woman, and I was just asking you, I think the lady, she's like overweight, she's obese, and you were just saying, no, that's normal. That's what people look like, it's not like these dancers being super skinny, unhealthy, and having 10, 15 kilos too less. So I had to work on my body image a lot, because also being surrounded by these skinny people, over half of my life. So, and then I was also thinking about myself, is it this being skinny dancer shape, does it mean that the person is fit, or whatever, fit is also not the wrong term, has a good life quality? Or does it mean that you need to have muscles, you need to be, in order to do this stuff? So that's
I think when you got out of the ballet life, because it's not just theater, it's specifically being in a ballet company, and it is not true for all dancers, but many dancers suffer through eating disorders or disordered eating or body image disorder. Okay, so we've grown up around it and it becomes our normal. So what your eyes see, you identify that as normal human stature, right? And I would say many, many times, that dancer physique is not healthy because they're so underweight that they come up with other not only mental issues, but there's also physical issues that come around that. So when you first started entering the studio space and just the gym space, you did have a little bit of like reckoning of like, oh, okay, this is what actual normal humanity looks like, right? Like
Yeah,
this is what a healthy body looks like, and healthy is a whole bunch of different shapes and sizes and looks.
yeah, because when you grow up with this shape, you think that's the body image, that's the place to go.
Right.
So but it's like also other people have a body image when they think this is what people should look like. But where do you think that's coming from? Is it from because they believe in that, or society is telling that person, or is it from social media?
It's a lot of stuff. That's a huge discussion that I think we could get into a different time. But there's many different influences that go into that. Us as coaches, we need to be really careful what our what's called unconscious bias, what you prefer unconsciously just because of your history, your personal history, and also other influences that you're not even aware of. So from marketing to social media to movies and all of that. So that influences the way that you see the world around you, right? So there's that aspect of it. And as a coach, we have to constantly be working on what those views are. Being aware of where your unconscious bias is so that you don't make mistakes with treating people differently in the class.
So then would you like to talk about the situation, what happened in the studio the other day, which was leading you to your Instagram post?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
without names.
Yeah. No names.
Just
No names.
Just
No names.
tell us the situation.
Okay. So first of all, around here, anyone that is a client, a student of ours, we have deep discussions about bodies and just loving the skin that you are in, and we celebrate always movement because movement is fantastic. Movement is beautiful. Like anything that we could do to enjoy being in our bodies is what we do. It is never about the shape aesthetically. It just has that's not what we're involved in, of making people lose weight, or we're going to tone this muscle, or get your 6-pack abs, or your summer bikini shape. That's all. Yeah, that's not our jam. Okay. So what had happened was is actually a couple different situations, but I'll just focus on one. One client had not seen the other student. So the two clients hadn't seen each other over a period of time because of the pandemic, right? And the one guy says to the woman, "Oh my gosh," first name, "I haven't seen you in so much. In so long. You've lost so much weight. You look
sorry, I
great."
guess he said, "Did you lose weight?" I guess this is how he was wording it.
Did you lose weight?
So,
and then the next sentence was, "You look great." Okay, so let me unpack this, which I did say something to that person because I was furious.
So you called him out? I
did call him out because losing weight does not mean looking great. Like losing weight can be a whole bunch of different things. Losing and because we have people here that train with us that have medical issues, like they've lost weight or gained weight for different medical issues, from thyroid stuff. We have cancer. We have like all different things. We have people that either lose or gain weight because of depression. We have people that have lost family members and they're going through. We have different life situations, like they are getting a divorce and now they have to take care of the 3 kids on their own and stuff, and that also has an influence in what our physical, the on the physical body. So it that gaining or losing a few pounds or kilos is not an indication of health, and it is not an indication of looking great or of beauty. Right. And that's where I did have a little bit of an anger moment with that person. But I said it clearly what the problem that I had with it. When I started teaching, I felt underprepared and overwhelmed. I needed to learn how to plan my training so that it made sense, but I wasn't sure what was working and what wasn't. So many teacher training programs leave out the actual art and business of teaching. This is why we created Train the Trainers. Train the Trainers is designed to give you the tools you need to create a powerful learning environment for your students. Gain access to the vault of our collected knowledge where you can learn everything we have to teach you, whether you are a freelance teacher or a studio owner. Get constructive feedback on your teaching with actionable tools you can apply immediately. We can't wait to be part of your teaching journey and to help you grow in your business. Welcome to Train the Trainers. Do you understand what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, yes.
And so it brought up a whole bunch of things for myself, especially because I know the background of each person that's here. And that particular comment to that person was totally inappropriate for their life situation too, which, and then it put them in a bad place, very much uncomfortable, because how do you, as the receiver, say, of the pseudo compliment, if you were going through a hard time in your life, what do you say? Yeah, thanks. Cancer's awesome. What? That's just silly. Like, it's stupid to have to put someone in that situation, to have to quantify or qualify their weight loss or their weight gain. So my proposal for always is do not talk about people's weight. Period. Done. That's easy. And it goes for us coaches too. Like, sometimes I've seen like, oh yeah, a pseudo complimentary again of like, oh, our program's working, you've lost the weight. Well, I mean, is that really necessary to praise people like that? Chris, jump in. What do you think?
So would you say that what we're talking about now, that people should maybe go back, and they're probably, everyone who's listening to that had already probably a situation, maybe as a man doing a compliment, or not a compliment, it's probably
a comment, maybe?
A comment, yeah. It's almost the same. A comment to a lady, or maybe then also ladies have been in the situation. So would you say that everyone who has been in the situation, who did the comment, should reconsider the way they see people, their body image, or should like actualize their?
Well, yeah, because I think it's more than just men, women, but women do it to each other too. I think it's a human thing, and we've been programmed into doing it sort of in this, like, this is the compliment that you give people. Oh, like, it's, haven't seen you in a while, you lost some weight, you look awesome. And that's what we've been taught is a good way to lift each other up. And that is not a good way to lift each other up.
So it's just maybe.
So like, for example, like, let's see how it looks like. Oh, so I'm going to again say pseudo compliment. Oh, she just had a baby. She lost all the weight. She looks great. She bounced right back. She got her old body back. And that's it's harmful. It's not.
So that means she didn't have the body image at this time when she had the baby. So she was bad, or kind of, it's kind of.
Well, it's like, it's not being respectful of birthing people, of like going through pregnancy, going through a birth, and then the entire physiology changes, and it will just be different, whatever that looks like afterwards. So it takes its toll on the body in different ways, and there's no need to bounce back. And so what I'm talking more about is the comments that are around mothering or pregnant people. I'm also talking about body image as a whole. how we support people. So it's not just us as coaches that do that need to be aware of it, but just as people, as humans, to say, look, you don't always know the situation of the person across from you, and unless you are in an intimate enough relationship where you can say, hey, so and so, I haven't seen you in a while. Do you want to catch up over coffee? And if that person says yes, and you can have a conversation that was built on trust, that you could share, information about each other's lives. If you're not at that sort of intimate relationship with the person, you have no right to be talking about their bodies
So then
in a compliment.
there would be like a superficial comment, or the person's superficial just, you lost weight, or did you lose weight?
I think it's society has. I think that was a form of, hey, how are you? I think it was more of a form of like, I'm trying to be nice, but I'm trying to get in touch with you, or build rapport with you, or build a friendship with you. And that's how that comes across. But we just need to drop all the body talk.
Mm-hmm. So it's probably better to leave when you have it in your head. Just probably, if you don't have a relationship or relation with the person, just to leave a comment about the body image out.
I think even if you do have a relationship with a person, to leave it out.
Okay.
I mean, I'll give you another example of with a person knows me pretty well, and I actually knows me very well, but I don't let that person know the intimate details of my medical stuff. And I was going through a bad bout of endometriosis, which does make your belly sort of swell and very uncomfortable. So that person said, oh my gosh, are you pregnant? And I like, excuse my language, and because this is open for adults, but excuse me, fuck you. I'm not pregnant. I have a giant tumor in my belly that is causing me so much effing pain right now. And that's why I look pregnant. And what you, it was ridiculous. And then it made, I'm very actually pretty secure with my body right at this point. But it makes you think, oh, well, now I look pregnant. Not that there's a problem with being pregnant. It was just totally uncalled for. And because the thing was, if I was pregnant and I wanted that person to know, I would tell them.
Yeah, and then if you lost weight and you're proud of it, you would let the person know, I lost 10 kilograms. And what about you?
Well, no, but that's so right, Chris. You hit the nail on the head. If it was something that I wanted to share with someone that I hadn't seen for a while, hey, how are you doing? Blah, blah. Oh my gosh, I just lost 10 kilos, or I'm feeling awesome. I've been lifting weights. I put on a lot of muscle mass. I feel awesome. I would tell the person the information that I would like them to know.
And then you can say, it looks great. Or
and then you can say it looks great.
Or then, yeah.
Exactly.
Or I realized it before. I didn't want to say something, but now you look much better. Or a person who was really skinny put some weight on and looks more healthy. It's then also leaving it not up to the person to judge it. Just when the person wants to talk about it, wants to share that information, then you can comment on it.
Right. Well, you can have a conversation about it if they allow you to. If they want you to.
So they should start the conversation about it if they needed something.
If they want it, they will talk about it. And it's also this thing of like, where do you, if you're on the receiving end of something like that from a teacher, and we're going to open this up with, I have some other people that I'm going to invite on. We're going to talk about this a little bit deeper with some other teachers, yoga teachers. If you're on the receiving end of something like that, what do you say? I'm a pretty tough lady, so if I'm not in the mood for it, then I will probably say something snarky back. But that's not always a safe thing to do for people. So it's hard. It's difficult.
Probably if someone would say something to me like that, I'm just confident enough. I'm just like, good thinking. I wouldn't really care about the person because it's a comment which is not necessary.
Right. But
so,
if
for some people, I imagine it can be really, really, it can hurt them.
Yeah, it could be really painful. It could also set off some
Yeah, could trigger some stuff.
Definitely. So we don't have an answer on this right now, but we would like to get in touch with a couple more body image coaches. So maybe we'll invite them on in an upcoming podcast so we can unpack this a little bit further. So our big takeaway for today is just don't talk about people's bodies like that.
And if you want to, keep it for yourself.
Keep it for yourself. Talk in your own head.
Yeah, write it down.
Leave it in your head. All right, my friends, we're going to wrap up. Thanks for joining us today. And if you have any thoughts, definitely let us know. We're curious. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. A great cost-free way of supporting us and the podcast would be to give us a 5-star rating. You could also look down into the show notes and grab any one of the free resources for teachers. I hope to see you next week on the Pilates Exchange. Happy teaching, everyone.